centuries, men and women from all over the world have dedicated their lives to the fight against injustice, corruption, and power leaders who served their own agenda. The firm hand of colonialism and greed fueled post-colonial leadership, which ensured that Africa remains in a permanent state of conflict. The rise and fall of ruthless dictators has done a great disservice in perpetuating the continent's image of lawlessness and disorder. Through all the years of mayhem, there has always been vocal and visible opposition. The presence of a strong-willed, driven, and passionate youth has for decades sparked revolutions that kept the power-hungry leaders on their toes and often on the battlefield itself. Fueled by rage against their corrupt governments, many African youths have been and continue to be forced to pick up arms and risk their lives for a greater cause: freedom. Many young Africans paid the ultimate price for us to be where we are today. They sacrificed their lives for their fellow Africans.
From an economic development point of view, within the African context and also South African context, I think given the state of development of our country, our economy and our continent as well, there needs to be a lot of focus placed on infrastructure development, because infrastructure is a key enabler of growth of the economy.
But there are real opportunities around consumers, and I think that's something that needs to be looked at very closely. The other areas which are natural to us is food. I have a real interest in what I see as food becoming one of the big issues for us globally. There are growing populations. Those populations themselves, because of growing wealth, are eating further up the food chain, if that makes any sense at all. So the amount of arable land required to produce the food is increasing because people are moving from staple diets into more developed diets. In addition to that, you've got this creep that's happening where urbanization is taking place. There's a real, around the world, particularly in the developing markets, a real process of urbanization, and that's eating into arable land. And the wonderful position we find ourselves in Africa is that 60% of the non-exploited arable land in the world sits in Africa.
It takes more than political freedom to turn a country into a thriving economic state. There are many barriers that have to be overcome before the motherland realizes its full prosperity. Poverty, unemployment, poor education, disease, corruption, lack of skills, debt, and much more continue to drag the continent deeper into regression, while the rest of the world fast-tracks into development. Having become a reality and evolving daily, the global village requires that every participant contribute towards its sustenance and advancement. With the world at our doorstep, questions of Africa's contribution are already being asked. But are we ready to become a major player?
So Ignite SA for me provides a platform for communication and interaction on a business level. And what that means is that people are interacting and communicating with each other and actually sharing ideas and opportunities. And through the sharing of ideas and opportunities, growth is achieved.
Why I support Ignite SA is because we've actually got to start inspiring ourselves. We've got to breathe life into what is possible, especially amongst the youth. I think that our forefathers who fought for freedom and the people who took us through the transition phase have a role to play, but purely on a guidance and mentorship basis. I think right now we need to take responsibility as the youth, as young people in the country who have and will be the future leaders of both South Africa and the continent. And so Ignite SA is one of those platforms from which we can launch an amazing country and an amazing continent.
The way has been prepared and the streets paved for the next generation of African leaders. While most of them may not inherit stable countries and flourishing economies, they have the advantage of history and the vast amount of experience and knowledge passed on by their outgoing generation. The new generation of African leaders cannot afford ignorance or luxury of time. They have to be sharp, innovative, and robust. For Africa to realize a full-blown renaissance, young leaders must take initiative and lead its people towards unity. Just as we were conquered by division, so must we achieve victory through unity. Ignite SA is spearheading the movement towards uniting young people and igniting their imagination towards growth.